HIV epidemic was initially emerging in the 1980s.
It occurred primarily in homosexual white men.
It was sort of thought that this was a white gay males issue. Had nothing to do with African Americans.
AIDS, HIV is now a disease of color.
I turned 20. They found out that I just had it in my blood. That's it.
First, I was diagnosed HIV in 1997 November. So it has been over 6 years now.
When I found out it was positive, it was on my birthday, and I hadn't quite turned 30 yet.
Instead of my kidneys failing, now I'm HIV positive, so that's a double whammy on my life.
2 decades after becoming aware that HIV/AIDS, a preventable disease with no boundaries, a merciless epidemic, was a major threat devastating the lives of our brothers, sisters, families, and communities. And yet there was no voice of compassion, comfort, or care coming from the Black church in Washington state. It was out of this cry for a voice that AARTH was born to speak to and for love, acceptance, justice, and equity through education, access to testing, ending stigma, and equitable health care for the Black community. From its inception in 2001, AARTH's first initiative to break the silence about HIV in the Black community was presented through a video titled, "Who Will Speak for Me?"
Where are you going? What road are you taking?
HIV/AIDS is the secret epidemic of the African American community. It is an epidemic that crosses all lines of gender, age, and sexual orientation in terrible numbers. It is secret because not enough of us, especially in our faith houses, have dared to raise our voices to speak the hard truth. And that silence is killing us. But the tide is beginning to turn. Who will have the courage to come forward? Who will speak for the men? Who will speak for the women? Who will speak for the children? Who will speak for me?
This video gradually opened doors through community workshops, forums, and pulpits into predominantly Black churches.
I mean, who did you talk to?
Well, I want to see, more, some sort of dialogue. I mean, I just knew I wanted more dialogue. Now, how that was going to come about, I did not know, because it was just totally a taboo and was not even talked about. So here I am, one of the most chatty people in the church, and I'm preaching and everything else, thinking, in a roundabout way, I'm always talking about, the love of Christ and how we should love and we should be accepting and we need to reach out and all that. So that in a general sense was getting to it, but not just really pinpointing certain things. And so that, in a sense, I want to see happen. But at the same time, I was looking for it to happen like from the higher up than me.
It is in our faith houses, at the heart of our communities, that we must confront the HIV/AIDS crisis.
Well, preacher, what does that have to do with us and with AIDS? I'm glad you asked. The church has been silent too long as it relates to AIDS.
Because not many of the individuals in the faith community, although they were leaders, wanted to embrace this as an issue.
It's difficult, I think, for ministers to say, okay, I need to change our theology a little bit and quit saying to you to abstain and then remain silent after that.
And as church members, we want to be involved because we don't want to be tainted. And don't fool yourself, AIDS can hit any of us. You're not immune to it.
You can't have your theology over here and a reality over here and not be able to tie them.
We want to pretend that everything is all right in our community and all right in the church when it ain't. Get real!
A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiments and wounded him and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side.
Ignorance is not bliss, it's deadly when it comes to this issue. It is devastating us like never before within the churches.
Anybody who comes to me today and says, I don't know anybody with AIDS, HIV, I tell them you do. They haven't told you.
Oh, we're so much like that priest. We look at the condition of our world. We look at the condition of people with AIDS. We say, and then we walk on the other side.
The annual World AIDS Day, hosted by Lifelong AIDS Alliance, presented opportunities for AARTH to engage Black churches in the march to increase awareness and eliminate stigma. As AARTH continued to speak out to increase awareness about HIV and AIDS, doors were opened and invitations extended for interviews to speak at HIV AIDS conferences.
I'm just getting back from a conference that was held in Charlotte, North Carolina by the Balm in Gilead. Why is it after 22 years into this disease, into this virus, that we as African Americans represent the highest population, and I know it's disproportionately speaking, but still we represent the highest population in all categories with this disease.
To come forward, that takes courage because of the tremendous amount of stigma attached to that.
First went through your mind when you learned you were HIV positive?
Well, when I first found out HIV positive, I just thought, well, okay, I won't be getting a kidney transplant because they don't do those on people that are HIV positive. And instead of my kidneys failing, now I'm HIV positive, so that's a double whammy on my life.
Well, I mean, I can remember when Reginald told us, and it was, you know, I don't think there's anything that prepares you for that news, that kind of news, and especially as being a mother. I just thought, you know, how could this be happening, you know, and I thought about my son is going to die, and he hasn't even begun to live his life. He's got so much to do. And then I just said, God, this can't happen. This only, what it means to me that if this is allowed to happen, then it means that God is going to find a way to bring about a cure.